Hey, YouTube fam, what's going on? So I'm going to jump right into it without any delay. As you can see on the thumbnail that you clicked on, Mr. Umar Johnson, some of you guys may be familiar with him. Some of you guys may not be familiar with him. But just a backstory, he pretty much, made his claim to fame on a very, very successful Black history documentary called Hidden Colors, directed by the great Tariq Nasheed. He's done some great projects. So I suggest anybody who's data-driven, who's knowledge-driven, and who wants to know about a lot of our history that isn't taught in schools. Parts 1 through 5, Hidden Colors, part 1 through 5. Again, directed by Tariq Nasheed. Great documentary. But Umar Johnson came to fame because he was interviewed on that documentary. Not a lot of people had known who he was, except for maybe the people who worked with him through psychology. I know, according to him, he was a principal for 20 years. He was in child psychology for 20 years. So that was the backdrop of his success, his early success, before being catapulted into the mainstream through that documentary. So that's kind of like just like a quick throwback summary about how he really came on the scene. Then he started getting interviews on different websites, different podcasts, different television shows, different radio shows like The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God and Envy and all them. So he's made a name for himself since then. At one point, he legitimately was in a position where he was respected. He wasn't pandering, he wasn't soliciting, he wasn't panhandling. When he first came out, he was legit. At least he appeared to be legit. And so now, after this fake school situation, this make-believe school situation, now it's coming to a head. Now, I did hear recently that the doors are about to open, but we're still waiting for that. The jury is still out because we've been waiting for this school for 10 years, and he's been refusing to show invoices or documentation as to where everybody's donations have been going to. He wasn't very transparent about taking people's money. And so that's what we're going to start with right there as far as the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey School for, it's the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Leadership Academy. And this is a school that he's been promoting for 10 to 12 years, something around there. And I remember in the beginning stages, in its infancy, he was taking a lot of donations from people. I mean, this dude swindled people out of hundreds of thousands, and I believe at this point, probably millions. I remember back when he first started, he had quickly garnered about $750,000, and that was public access, so we knew that. But then he started getting upset with people that it wasn't enough, even though people were giving their last dollars and their last pennies. Single mothers who were raising kids were taking food out of their children's mouths to donate to this fool, and he still wasn't happy, saying it wasn't enough. Black people were being stingy. $750,000 wasn't enough, and that was cold-blooded. And when he started begging for more money, saying instead of $5, you can give a 20. How do you know that? Like, that's when eyebrows started going up. Like, how do you know what people's situation is? If they give $1, if they give $3, in totality, if they're donating globally, that's a lot of money. How dare you say you can do 20, you can afford 20. You don't know how much people. So that was the first time I remember not only me thinking, how dare you, got a lot of nerve. People are donating what they can. Be thankful for it and thank people for whatever they're doing. That was around the time when everybody else started saying the same thing. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with this picture. That's the type of person that a crooked car salesman does to try to get you to buy a lemon, or that's the type of thing that a swindler does on the street when he's trying to sell you a pocket watch or jewelry out of his coat. That aggressive type, mean, begging, criticizing type of thing where people are already given what they can. So that's when everything kind of started going downhill from a reputation standpoint. So like I said, it's been about 10 or 12 years. He said the helpers can't be white. He said black staffers, they can't be white. Their spouses can't be white. If you're a black woman that wants to be on his staff at this school, and he's been saying this for years, and he still stands 10 toes down on this rule. If you're a black man and you're married interracially, you cannot work at this school in any kind of position, which is crazy, because if they've got the skills or the background to contribute to your school or black culture in any way, then you should let them on your team if their whole goal in life and their whole life's work is to help the black community advance. It shouldn't matter where the help is coming from. But again, this is the mind of a racist and a bigot. And you can be that as a black person. I know certain people say you can't be a racist and be black because black people don't have the power to be racist and keep you from getting jobs and keep you from getting land and denying you things like the white power structure. And I understand that. But we can use another word. He's a bigot. He's prejudiced. Use whatever word you like. But for him to turn away people who are married interracially, who dedicate their lives to the advancement of our people, that's you're a bigot. To deny them that, based on either the color of their skin or their spouse's color, even though they're black themselves, their spouse. So anyway, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I do want to touch on that really quick and extend on that point, because Frederick Douglass, as you know, many of you know, most of you should know, that Frederick Douglass is, if not the greatest black leader of all time, he's one of, if not the greatest. That's argument. That can be argued. He's arguably the best, greatest black leader of all time. So that can be debated, and it has, and it still is. I'm saying that to say that Frederick Douglass was married to a white woman. Now, this is the name of the guy that he's naming his school after. Keep this in mind. When we talk about this guy, Umar Johnson, I want to break down the irrational concepts and the irrational worldview that he has, and the contradictions that come out of his mouth on a daily basis when he's on these shows. Now, you're going to name your school the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Leadership Academy, but yet your fearless leader, the leader that you revere more than anybody else, Umar, Frederick Douglass was married to a white woman, I believe, the last 10 years of his life. Now, Umar's been pressed about this, most notably on the Roland Martin show, and this was back when Roland Martin was employed by TV One. He had a real popular show on TV One at the time, and he had Umar on there, and he was getting pressed because this was in the beginning of when people was wondering where their money was going. It was a big controversy about his racial requirements. Everything surrounding him, his background, education, and his school was huge. And he had him on his show to clear the air and be transparent with not only the donors, but the public. And Roland questioned him about Frederick Douglass. He said it to Umar Johnson said to Roland Martin, I'll never forget, he said, anybody who is married interracially will not get my respect. You cannot say as a black man that you are loyal to your black race if you can't commit to the black woman. And he said the same thing about a black woman. He said, you cannot say that you're loyal to your race. I don't care what you do functionally, he said. He said, I don't care what you do functionally and work-wise, whether you worked your whole life to put black people in a better position, okay, legally, whatever skill you have. He said, if you're a black woman or a black man that marries interracially, you can't get any respect from me. So Roland Martin then said, well, what about Frederick Douglass? Does he not get your respect? Because this is the guy you're naming your school after. Now, how do you reconcile that? Well, you see, here comes his contradictory narrative, like he does a lot of times. Well, you see, you know, she was more of a caretaker, something. The words may not be verbatim, but it was something to the tune of, well, the last 10 years of his life, you know, he was sickly, he wasn't in his right mind, or he was, you know, he might have been, not in his best health or whatever. So she assumed the role more of a caretaker than a wife. And so he said he doesn't condone it, but he understands. And he said, second of all, he said, you have to understand that he was married to a blue-black, nappy-headed, beautiful black woman for 50 years of his life prior to marrying that white woman before he died. Okay, so he's justifying his most revered icon, or what I would say hero. He's justifying his most revered hero in his mind. He's justifying his interracial marriage with the white woman because it was the last 10 years of his life. So what? That should disqualify him on the back end. Now, I can see if he was married to a white woman for 50 years and then came to his senses and then married a sister in your mind. Okay, I can see you saying, okay, I forgive Frederick Douglass's iniquities because he came to his right mind and he became pro-black and he became awakened about the errors of his ways, and he married a black woman for the last 10 years of his life. I can see that. But how are you going to forgive, in your mind, how are you going to forgive the sin of him completing his life with the idea that the white woman was the best woman for him? You can't reconcile that, especially when you're saying that your everyday black man and woman is disqualified from your school and disqualified from getting your respect, even if they're married for 6 months, even if they're married for a year. You ask Umar Johnson, you can be married for a month and you disqualified. You can be married for a year interracially as a black man or a black woman, and he's going to disqualify you from having your black card, from possessing your black card. You can't come to the cookout according to him. And that's in way less time than a 10-year marriage, but yet this man was married for 10 years, completed his life with the white love of his life, and he gets grace? Come on, man, that's a contradiction. It's a contradiction. So I don't want to stay on that, but I want to move forward. He's always preaching about family. I don't like the fact that he preaches about the black man, the black woman becoming a family and getting married, although I agree with it. Follow me. I agree with everything he says. He's very knowledgeable, which is sad about him being a criminal and a grifter and a hustler and a swindler. It saddens me because the brother knows his history, okay, knows who we are. He just doesn't act on it and participate in his own preaching. He doesn't practice what he preached. But here's what I want to get to. You're always preaching about family, but yet you've never been married. You're 51 years old, brother. You're 51 years old, brother, preaching to other people, get married, get married. Brothers, marry these sisters. You know, they're more than just booty. They're more than just vajayjay. He's always putting it in different type of scenarios and different variations of speech, but he's always got some colorful flowery language. Okay? Flowery language. He's always got these sort of eloquent ways that he's trying to convey to black people and to the black community that marriage is the nucleus of the black community, and the black community is the nucleus or the core of a black nation or a nation in general. Because you can look at any nation. A nation is made of different families, married families. Okay? That's where you get a community is just a microcosm of a larger nation. All it is a microcosm of a nation. So I get what he's saying. It starts with marriage, then it starts with a community of marriages, and then that community becomes a nation. So he's right, but brother, you 51 years old and you're not doing that. You're not living that. Okay? So we got to get to the bottom of that. He has to be pressed on that. And he has been, but we don't press him enough. People platform him and let him spew all this garbage and all this contradictory wordplay. But he needs to be pressed. And I'll debate him on any stage, just to let y'all know that. I would debate him on any stage. Because when you debate somebody who's not living the true life, he's living a double life. Somebody who lives this type of way, who says one thing and lives another, you're not going to win no debate with a brother like me who's going to out you. because no matter how much knowledge you have, I'm living to the best of my ability to live what I preach. You know, I work at a school with kids, and what I tell these kids, I try to live the same way that I tell these kids, because I want to be a living example. So you ain't gonna out debate me, because I'm gonna out you on every single facet of your life where you're not living out what you're telling all these other people to do. You preach family more than anything. And not only are you not married, Umar, but this brother didn't even marry the children out of wedlock that he had with 2 black women. At least why wouldn't you make it official with them? At least why wouldn't you make it official and make them honest women? One of them. You got 2 daughters from 2 different black women out of wedlock. One of the daughters has been trending lately, talking about Umar don't even want to call her, see her, everything. So not only did you not marry one of the sisters that bore your children, okay, but you won't even connect, according to her daughter, not me, according to your daughter, you won't even connect with her, even though you're not married. That's the least you can do, is be an influence, a positive influence, a positive father figure to your daughter. You've already made the mistake of not marrying one of your baby's mothers, so at least follow up with having a relationship with your children. That's the least you can do when you going on tour all over the world, internationally, spitting all this jive, okay? Live out your truth, man. Live out your truth. Quit being phony. That's the one thing I can't stand about Umar Johnson. The brother is cold with his black history and his knowledge of self and his knowledge of all kind of things, whether it's spirituality, whether it's religion, whether it's the history of Africa, the history of Europe. Man, you get into a debate with him in terms of facts, he's flawless. Dude is flawless, you know? But I'm talking about living your truth. You know, that's just like I would come down. That's like a pastor that gets brought down from the pulpit who's been chastised and been outed for, you know, you see all these pastors getting outed for having sex with young girls and having all kind of sexual relationships with some of the adult females in the congregation, and you know they're disgraced in front of the church. They have to step down or they're voted out, and rightly so. People that hold a position like that, that are teaching or preaching from a high platform, should be called out. The light should be shined on that, and people should be aware. And that's the purpose of this video. It's not to tear down another black man. It's to say, hey, before you come out here and try to be this so-called greatest scholar of the modern era, whatever crazy stuff he be talking about himself, you know, he's always got all these self-proclaimed accolades about himself, the greatest, the most requested scholar on earth. Just so hyperbolic, you know, just so self-centered and so egotistical. And that's another thing that doesn't bode well with a leader. You know, Martin Luther King didn't talk about himself like that. He's the greatest this and he's the greatest that. No, he was humble. Malcolm X didn't say, I'm the greatest, this ain't nobody greater than me. He was humble. That's the mark of a great leader. It's so many things that goes against you in terms of, you got a long way to go to be on any level of leadership. You got a long way to go, brother, because first of all, you need to humble yourself. Then you need to live right. So before I go on a tangent, black women, I know, is his biggest audience. And that's what burns me up, is that, you know, black women are his biggest donors. You know, now a lot of them are hip now, and they're angry and they're demanding, you know, transparency for the money. But you still got some women, he can say any little sweet little flowery thing again, any little sweet kind of language. Ooh, sister, ooh, my chocolate queen, ooh, my butterscotch. Ah, and they all in the comment section and they viewing his videos and they at the lectures just melting in the seats. They're so impressionable and so gullible and so naive. And I'm not talking about them. I'm just saying he's a very, very well-spoken person. He's a very good orator. And women fall victim to that. Okay? Men aren't the majority of his audience. Yeah, you got some suckers out here that's giving him money knowing that he a crook and he done robbed the black community. you know, he grifting. You got some knuckleheads out here that just, they militant and they bigoted, and so everything he says hateful, they gonna bond with him and share that kinship. They both have that similar, they both have that camaraderie of bigotry together, so they can bond through bigotry. So you're gonna have them knuckleheads. But for the most part though, men ain't on that. Men be calling him a clown, and when is the school gonna be built? You've been having a different date every year for the last 10 years. You always up in the opening date, never open up a school. So men, for the most part, been on top of it. But it's the women. Women are so vulnerable to this dude. He can steal their purse, and he can Don Juan his way out of stealing their purse, robbing him. He can rob them by gunpoint and say some type of sweet little, kind little complimentary word to her. Oh, it's okay that you took my wallet, Umar. They just, anything he say to them, they open up their wallets and purses and sending this fool money, knowing he's a crook, knowing he's a grifter. You know, they going against their own best interests, you know, so, and that's why he panders to women, to black women. So I'm hoping they get a handle on themselves and a handle on their emotions. The last thing I want to say is, he talks about black people having low self-esteem who date interracially. And it's crazy that you would say that, because there's so many different levels on how human beings bond. Not just racially, but just bond human to human. I mean, in elementary school, people don't process what racism is and discrimination. Even if they feel that they're being singled out in school, or they feel something, you know, that they're being watched at a store, they can't process it. They may know something's wrong, but when they're playing in a sandbox with another beige person or a white person or an Indian person, all they know is that they're having fun in the sandbox. They're not looking at this person like he has any effect on what they may be sensing in the school or what they may be sensing in society. Spirit to spirit, human to human, on an organic level, they develop friendships like any other human being, just like blacks and blacks and whites and whites. You develop an organic friendship with somebody through familiarity. If I go to school with you, I go to high school with you, we like the same books, we like the same movies. Ain't nobody thinking about trying to be like white people or feeling inferior to white people. Black men want to date and marry white women because they want to be like the white man. White women want to be with white men because they feel like white men are superior and they're God. And so black women, you know, they worship white men. Like all these crazy things you say about black people, but how can you negate the possibility? How can you deny even the possibility that they shared the same perspectives on food, the same likes with movies, restaurants. Maybe they share the same religion. They grew up in the same neighborhood and played on the same block together. They played sports together, blacks and whites on the same blocks in the hoods and the ghettos. People grow up, they going through too much in life to be thinking about the intricacies of societal ills. These are kids. These are teenagers. Then they're young adults going to college. So now you come from the hood, you're introduced to a new sect of people, you know, a new pool of people that you're not used to being with, for lack of better terms. So there's so many ways that humans engage other than trying to be like each other. Just human engagement, human participation in different activities is what usually bonds us. And usually when you ask how somebody got married, it's usually through similarities in terms of what they have in common, just like any other human being. So he's not even using logic. I understand where he's trying to go because he hates white folks, but that's why it's irrational, because hatred for somebody usually results in an irrational perspective on whatever you're talking about, because the hatred is clouding your judgment. But anyway, you know, what do you think? I'm about to end this video. I think I went over everything. I've got some notes. I don't know how long people are going to clout chase and give this dude a platform. That's all it is at this point. Because we all know what he's been doing. We all know his background. We all know his grift. We all know his hustle. We all know his criminal background. concerning this issue of the school and possibly other stuff, but I don't want to speak on other stuff. I only want to speak on what I know. It's basically these people who platform him, it's clout chasing. You know, you're putting him on your platform to clout chase. If we debate, it doesn't even have to be on a large platform, because I'm not clout chasing. I'm just trying to expose the people in the black community that don't have good intentions, that have on wolf's clothing. And some people are not smart enough to discern negative spirits from positive spirits. Sometimes it takes a cat like me to get on here and just break stuff down, especially for the people who are not familiar with him, who don't know about his track record. But anyway, yeah, let's discuss this. And there might be a part 2. If y'all think I left anything out about this panhandler, let me know. You know, he's always talking about he's the Prince of Pan-African. No, you the Prince of Panhandling. You the Prince of Pan Pizza, like Tariq Nasheed was saying. You the Prince of something, but you ain't the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Because true Pan-Africanism has love at the forefront, not hatred. It has love and togetherness and building community, no matter where it comes from. You know, when I ain't gonna get into it. This could be a whole history lesson, because that ain't the only brother that got knowledge of self and knowledge of history. Right? We can go on for hours, but it might be a part 2. If I left something out, y'all, let me know. If you disagree with something, let me know. If you agree with me, let me know. But I just like keeping it real when it comes to stuff like this. I'm tired of the grift, and I'm tired of the black community getting robbed because of this cat, man. He's gotten enough money off the backs of hard-working mothers and fathers, and people in the black community is doing their best to keep their head above water and believing in this cat. It's gone on too long. And I know others have said it, but somebody needs to break it down from a different perspective. So like, share, comment, subscribe. If I left anything out, definitely holler at me. Put it down in the comment section. And, you know, we'll see you next time. All right.